So here we're seeing that the choice was not to go to one paradigm, but to take the other one, the dominant one. And now I want to see some examples of the architecture of 60s. It's so-called Seagull. Seagull that was built in 1962. Important time, huh? Important time. The year when the Stalin's monument was taken away. And it was in the period of time when Khrushchev is just running his policy, when he is just making these very strict limitations concerning the budget, concerning the space, when he started to build his Khrushchevkas. And in that period of time, all of a sudden in Armenia there's appearing a form on the road towards Sevan Lake. And in 1965, when Khrushchev is coming to Armenia, it is turning into a whole union scandal. And I mean, all newspapers in the Soviet Union were writing that Khrushchev came to Armenia and he just started to yell at the press secretary, saying that this is how you're spending the Soviet money. I spoke about the amnesia and I spoke about the empty spaces, and now I'm coming to another interesting thing. In the 60s, in the urban space, they started to develop so-called extra, as I call it, extra territories. They were like the superfluous spaces that were appearing in the city and was kind of like the marking new spaces. Here you can see like a very good contrast. Like on the background of the Stalinistic architecture, then you see like these umbrellas, these constructions that of course have a function. It's a bus stop, but at the same time you can see the chairs. It's a cafe, and the cafes became a very important part of new urban culture. They created new spaces, these public spaces. Those could be also a certain kind of like the landscape architecture. There could be like the shapes, the circles which were appearing in the boulevards. In that period of time, in Yerevan, there appeared these zones. And one of the memories which really drive people into total euphoria when they remember 60s, it's about that spaces. Here you can see also some of the spaces, and you can see like the horizontality, this tendency to spread, to integrate into like the city landscape, but to be at the same time quite invisible. To use modernistic forms, but at the same time be like the very kind of like the untouchable, integrated in the landscape. Kochar came from exile from Norilsk in 1956, and he finished the complex of the writer's house resort. And the first, the one that is in front was made in 30s, and the other one was made by him in 1965. Here you can see also like an archive photo where the people are around, and this is the photo that was taken this year in March when we were doing our researches for local modernities. Later on, it was already the Brezhnev period that Armenia became kind of like the very emblematic, very important city for like the modernistic architecture. Like the several important groups were working in Yerevan, and like the buildings which were built, it was kind of like the really exemplary. They were like showing it like the same building in of the Ministry of Highways, and other buildings which were built like Shotahavlashvili, like Laguna Vera, and many others. So Caucasus, in Caucasus there were like the two important centers which were like the producing new architecture. So here you can see, but this is already not a Khrushchev period, as you can imagine. This architecture already belongs to the same period of time as this building was made. This is the early 70s. This is the Russia Cinema Theater. Then of course you see here like the archive materials, and if you would see this building today, it's a totally corrupted. I mean, there appear these extensions underneath, so it's got new volumes, right? And when I spoke to the architect, he said, you couldn't imagine. When I spoke to the owner of the movie theater, he said that he wants to construct a tower from the very center. And I said it's totally, and he said that it's impossible because constructively these both volumes are just hanging on one construction. So it's totally impossible to destroy that construction. This is another important modernistic, late modernistic architecture. It's Savarknots Airport. It's an airport in Yerevan. Another building that Jan showed today in his presentation. And this is another building, the Youth Palace. And here you can see the images of the process of construction, and you can also see here the process of the construction. This building was deconstructed 3 years ago. Totally swept away, gone. And yes, it wasn't Yerevan.
Because there is very similar building in Chisinau.
Okay, and there is also a very similar city in United States, like Marina City. But the thing is that this was not the only building that was gone. In that period of time, there were just destroyed many modernistic structures, and it lasted till this year. I mean, because you know, society was of course reacting. The architectural community was reacting, but it was totally fragmented. There was no way to influence the development of things.